an extremely important game four. The difference between going back to New York, being up 3-1, and going back to New York and the series being tied cannot be understated. With that being said, Adam, what are some of the keys that the Pacers need to get that 3-1 lead in game four? And what are some of the things to look out for?
I think it goes back to what we discussed last night. You have to have more of a presence in the post because, again, if you don't get Turner and Siakam down low able to score, and you're just depending on perimeter shooting like they kept doing, like up until the end of the first quarter, they were 1 for 7 on 3-pointers last night. If you're relying on that as your basis to take a lead, you're not going to be able to. But I think they need to do a better job of preventing silly turnovers and just staying out of foul trouble. And for me, that the first thing you do, I wouldn't play Benedict Mathurin in game 4 at all. I haven't really seen him do anything in this series in particular that like stands out of like, oh, he deserves to play more. I would recommend you use Tony Bradley. You get more of a center presence in there. You get Turner and Siakam more rest because when the Knicks put Mitchell Robinson in there for more time, it made a difference. I don't care what anyone says. He may not have scored 20 points or anything, but it was old school basketball. He was able to get those rebounds right by it. He got a few quick shots. Obviously, Josh Hart kept getting rebounds. You need to do what you can to get that lead or that rebound differential in your favor, which means I think you need to play a little more post heavy. But I think the other thing is just don't force shooting you don't have to. In this case, I think there was a lot of threes they were trying to force. I think they started to feel the pressure. So, Halliburton in particular started shooting some pretty deep and ridiculous shots he had no business doing. So, those are things that for me kind of stick out. But the other factor, and I don't know if anyone's going to agree with me on this, it's like make sure you get Halliburton's dad on the camera as much as you can with him going back, being able to watch game 4. You let those Knicks fans see it. You let those players see it. You let them get distracted by, oh, great, he's back. He's going to talk his game. And, I think anything you can do with the crowd also becomes a huge factor as well.
Oh yeah, you've got to get the crowd into it early, no matter what you do. You kind of saw that in Game 3 yesterday. They got the crowd into it, and when they jumped up to that 20-point lead, and then it just seemed to me like it was a mentality shift at that point. It seemed like the Pacers kind of took their foot off the gas, and the Knicks started playing out of desperation, which led to that collapse. But before we move on from the Pacers entirely, I did want to give one more shout out to Tony Bradley. Now he didn't light up the stats at all yesterday. He finished with like 2 points and 3 rebounds or something. But it seemed like when he was in the game, the number of second chance points and the number of offensive rebounds going the Knicks' way went down dramatically. And that is something out of everything that I think that the Pacers really need to look at going into game 4 is how to prevent the offensive rebounds because those second chance points are killers.
Yeah, I would like to, and I don't know, this is just me. I'd like to see them go with maybe a more post heavy lineup. Like the Knicks have very good rebounding capability all across the board. They were talking about Josh Hart being the number one perimeter rebounder in the whole NBA, and he's just a guard.
Yep.
Obviously, OG Anunoby, IU proud. He can do a little bit of everything. He had some really good rebounding and defensive possessions. I think the Knicks will kind of try to do more of what they were doing with the Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns lineup. So, you start using all of those as factors. I would like to see them actually maybe put Turner over at power forward. You move Siakam to small forward and you put in Bradley as the center because, Rick Carlisle said it this week. He believes that he's the best rebounding center slash uh, rebounding presence that the entire team has. And that's what it's going to take to win game 4. You have to find a way to get him more playing time. And, the Knicks changed their starting lineup. It paid off for them because the Knicks won for the first time in the playoffs this century in Indianapolis. You think about that. You don't want them to get 2 of those because you and I both know this.
Right.
If the Knicks win tomorrow in Indianapolis, I think they take the series after that. Because
Oh,
the
absolutely.
momentum
All the momentum
is
goes
gone.
with the Knicks. The Knicks get back their home court advantage that the Pacers stole in game 1 and 2. That would be, like I said, game 4, the importance of it cannot be understated for that very reason. But one more thing, I was going to mention it, but you already did. The Knicks changed their lineup going into game 3, more out of desperation than anything, trying to find something that would work against this Pacers team. And to your point, now it's like your move, Rick Carlisle. The ball's in your court, as corny as that sounds talking about basketball.
Yeah.
The Knicks have shown they are more than prepared to make the necessary changes. Now we just have to wait and see what the Pacers do in response.